Welcome back everybody. In today's video we're going to do an overview and a comparison between some York Audio impulse response libraries. Let's do it. The main goal of this video isn't to dive too far into depth with any particular cab pack here, but I want to focus on, hopefully, giving you guys enough information to choose the cab pack that is right for you and your rig and your playing style. And to do that, I want to focus on three main flavors. I want to do a Vox style chime, a Marshall style crunch, and then something nice and chunky with one of the Mesa models in the Axe-Fx 3. These IRs are available in wave format, so you can use them in the modeler of your choice, but today I am going to be using the Axe-Fx 3. So let's start with a Vox style thing. I'm using the AC20 model in the Axe-Fx 3, which is my favorite Vox style amp. I'm playing my YJM Strat at the moment, and we're going to hear two different cab packs. We're going to hear the VX15112 Blue, which is based around an AC15 with a Celestion Alnico Blue speaker, like the classic Vox thing. But there is also a really great sounding matchless 2x12 IR library in there, which is a mix between a Celestion M25 and an H30. So the best way to do that is I'm going to compare mix one from each cab pack. Now, these mixes don't have a preset recipe. All the shots in every cab pack are tuned by ear. There's individual mics, lots of different individual mics, and then there are mixes in there. So I'm a mix kind of guy. That's probably the easiest way to kind of get the feel for the cab pack. So we'll just go between mix one with the Vox 1x12 and the matchless 2x12. Let's do it. So as you can hear there, the Vox pack has that classic sparkle going on from the Celestion Alnico Blue, whereas the matchless pack kind of has a little bit more beef. The top end isn't quite as sparkly. It still has a very similar character in there, but it's a lot kind of chunkier in the mid-range. Let's hear a comparison between, rather than these two, let's hear, I guess, mix two in each pack. We'll go Vox, then matchless again. The nice thing about all of these cab packs as well are, the mixes give you very distinct flavors on the same kind of thing in there. It's like variations on a theme. Like, if you like your steak with salt and pepper, sometimes you might like it with a little bit of extra spice on there. Sometimes you might like it with just salt and no pepper as well. And that's the way I look at these mixes. But you can definitely hear the difference in character between those two different cab packs. If I crank the drive up, what you will hear, let's start, say, we're on to mix 3 with these at the moment. Let's just stick with mix 3. We'll hear the Celestion Blue again. And again, this is kind of typical of a lot of kind of Vox speakers with that Celestion Alnico Blue. As you add a bit of drive, it does get a little bit, it's not really fizzy isn't the right word, but it's not quite as like robust as that matchless pack. So if you were going for more kind of like driven Vox sounds, I would probably go for the matchless. If you wanted the classic Vox chimey thing, then the VX15 is probably, in my opinion anyway, the way to go. Let's move over to some Marshall style tones. I'm using the Atomica High model in the Axe-FX3. Again, my favorite Marshall style amp in there. And we're going to hear the difference here between the M20 pack, so a classic 20 watt greenback. I'm going to hear that side by side with a Celestion Blackback. A very nice speaker indeed. Let's do some Deep Purple, shall we? Pretty subtle there. Both of those, I guess, fundamentally have a very similar character, but the Blackbacks have a little bit more of a pronounced high end, whereas the M20 is kind of chunkier. I reckon if you were going for like a brown sound style thing, I'll chuck a boost in front of this, and I'll move over to humbuckers in a second. This is probably gonna, I've already got a boost on there, so let's just turn that boost up, shall we? Probably for like a brown sound thing, the M20, that's kind of where the party's at. Let's hear a different mix. Yeah, this one here, mix number 2. The M20 has a lot more low mids going on. It's a bit more of a chunky sounding cab, whereas the Blackbacks are a little bit more hi-fi. I would almost say, like, if you were going for more of an old school early 70s, like power amp distortion kind of tone, think, you know, Jimmy Page, the Blackbacks might be the go, whereas for like later 70s, early 80s tones, think like Van Halen or Dio, then the M20 is probably going to be the ticket. Let's hear this sound. So what I was saying before, that like early 70s thing, I really like the Blackbacks. They have a slightly more hi-fi thing. Roll your volume control down on this particular amp model and you get it. Whereas in comparison, the Greenbacks are a little bit darker and chunkier. They're not, in my opinion, as good for that kind of thing. But you know, you put a boost on all of this and you crank the gain up, and it's the other way around for me. I like the Greenbacks more. And if you're not into Greenbacks or Blackbacks, there is also this Bogner cabinet with vintage 30s that I really like for this kind of stuff as well. Just, again, a different flavor. It's a little bit kind of more pronounced in the low end there and a little bit smoother up top. So that's kind of like the crunch stuff. For a lot of people, that was way too much gain for crunch, but let's go to chunk now, and we're going to use the USA lead mid-gain, so the Mark IV model in the Axe FX3. And what I want to compare first is there are some IRs of a Mesa cabinet with V30s, the oversized cab, and then the traditional size cab. So if you've got the Axe FX3, there are some stock York Audio impulses. It's, I believe, the same oversized cab. Let's hear comparison, say, between Mix 1 and Mix 2. So here's, let's just hear Mix 2. I really like Mix 2. We'll hear the traditional, then we'll hear the oversized. Big difference there. Hopefully you can hear that. Make sure you're listening on headphones or through monitors, not just through your phone speaker. Otherwise, you know, they'll all sound the same. But the traditional there, to me, is way more of that kind of like Metallica Dream Theater, super tight, super in your face and punchy. Whereas the oversize has that extended low end. You know, now it really sounds like a Mesa. It's great for those kind of sus2 chords in a drop tuning. Very much if you're into like the late 90s or early 2000s in terms of tones, that's probably the one to go for. It's the one which gives me the stankiest face as well. Really good if you like the Mark series amps, whereas if you're more a kind of Recto 5150 guy, the oversize is where the party's at. I love this. Then there's also a Zilla 212, which is kind of the cab of choice for a lot of modern metal guys as well. Again, just a different flavor. This one, I believe it's V30s and an H75 or something like that. So it sounds a little bit kind of darker. I know the Periphery guys like this, so let me butcher some Periphery for you guys. And really quickly, while we're here, let's compare those to the Bogners. I got to remember where I've put these. The Bogners is kind of like a cool take on the V30 thing again. So the Zilla has a lot more top end and a lot more bottom end. It's kind of more of a scooped thing. The Bogner's a very good all-rounder. I liked it with the Marshalls. I like it with the Mesa tones as well. It sounds pretty good for really pristine, clean stuff as well. And then the two Mesa cabs, I mean, if you like Mesa cabs, you're probably going to want to end up getting both of those. But the oversized just sounds like beefcake, and the traditional is a lot more kind of focused in there. There is also a deluxe reverb cab pack, and kind of haven't planned anything for this, so let's do this. Let's just dial up a new amp model. I've got the deluxe tweed. Well, that'll do. Let's bring the input drive down a little bit, and I'll bring up Maybe I did plan this and I just forgot. The deluxe reverb model, as you would expect. I like the vibrato one here. If I bring the drive right down and the bass and treble up, this probably isn't the ideal guitar for it, but whatever. Alrighty, we kind of went down the rabbit hole there comparing a bunch of different IRs. Thank you so much to Justin at York Audio for letting me try all of these. Hopefully that sheds some light on the differences between the cab packs, their kind of fundamental sonic characteristics, good amp styles to match them up with, and hopefully you guys can go and check them out and find a cab pack that really works for you, because one thing that I've found with every single modeler that I've tried is that it's all about finding the right IR that works for the style you want to play and the kind of points that you want to hit. Again, it's like a flavor style thing. Once you get that locked in, then you can build your whole sound around it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.